Greetings and salutations, folks. Welcome to another Train Sim World video. Today is the release of the early access for Train Sim World 4. Yes, the fourth one, much to the chagrin and dismay of the community within Train Sim Classic, Train Sim World, etc., etc. It's Dovetail Games. I would only assume they are going to keep doing this unnecessarily, but I went ahead and purchased it so I could take a look at it and create this video. Hopefully you'll find it informative and answer some questions you may have. I'm going to try and go into this thing with an open mind, but we'll go ahead and show off what you're going to get here. So if you get the standard edition, you get the 3 routes, and you got to wait until, I think, September 26th to play it. If you get the deluxe edition, you still get the 3 routes with a couple other things, including the Flying Scotsman and the Vectron. It is $69.99, whereas, sorry, the standard is $49.99. The deluxe is $69.99. And the special edition, which is all the same crap with a few extra routes from Train Sim World 3, as well as early access, that one is $109.99. Now, if you have played or installed previous Train Sim World, whether you're on console or PC, I believe you get a bit of a discount, or at least you do on PC. I'm not totally sure on console as this video and first look will be on PC. So these two, the deluxe and special, you can play today, starting 9/21/2023 or September 21st, 2023. So the price has definitely gone up. I feel like the original Train Sim World 3, when it came out, was like $29.99, or it might have been $39.99. Still, nevertheless, the price went up, as did a lot of Dovetail Games' stuff over the last year because reasons. So let's go ahead and crack on and jump in and see what's what. Okay, guys, so here we are. This is essentially the main menu. Now, you can sign in if you have got a profile set up from before for Dovetail Live. I went ahead and skipped that, and I kind of forgot my password and just created a new profile. From there, it's going to have you choose your character, what you want your person to look like, and it's going to ask whether you're a beginner, standard, and then some other option. I just clicked standard. And then this is what we got. Now, it did start off with the standard Train Sim World music, so they've kind of gone back to just regular Dovetail style music instead of the click-clap crap from last year, Train Sim World 3, which was very, very poor taste. But let's go ahead and take a look at the settings. Our general, let's see, notifications, screenshot quality is high, volumetric fog. That was one of the big things they touted for Train Sim World 4. One of the big reasons for Train Sim World 4. Let's see, advertisements. So that's crap that Dovetail, have a handshake with some other companies, so they display their crap within the game. And of course, Dovetail Games gets paid for it. You get nothing. Motion blur, I'll go ahead and turn that off because I hate it with a passion. Save game, we'll leave that enabled, of course. Let's go ahead and hit apply. Accessibility, we'll leave subtitles, default movement to run. We'll leave the HUD for now. Lightning effects on, arcing effects on, HUD type, so we'll leave that. Controls, I believe you can use the rail driver, but I'm not going to be using that today just because I don't feel like getting it out of the closet and setting it up because I'm very, very lazy. So it's going to be mouse and keyboard. We'll kind of leave that as is. Audio, I'm not sure how loud it's going to be, so I'm going to leave that as of right now. Menu music says off. That's interesting. Not sure why that's... I can't even click anything there. Weird. Screen. Now, this was incorrect when I first loaded it up, and it kept doing this really annoying thing with my PC where it kept minimizing the screen, and it was making it a pain in the ass to try and record via OBS. So I went ahead and changed it to 1440p for full clarity. Again, this is on PC. I have got a RTX 4070 Ti, 12 gigabyte, 32 gig system RAM, Ryzen 5800X processor, and 2 M.2 SSDs. So that's what this is going to be running on today. We'll look at advanced settings. So foliage quality, I'm just going to turn everything to ultra and see if I can handle it, or the highest it'll go anyway. Effects quality, high, sky quality, very high, and ultra. Fog, ultra. Post-process, whoop. Ultra, view distance, ultra, texture quality, ultra. Max FPS, got no reason to bring that above 60, so I'm going to leave it at 60. Anti-aliasing, looks like not much has changed there. VSync, I'm going to leave that off for now. Screen percentage, so it's 100%, so it's 1:1, so it's 1440p. So by and large, it looks like nothing here has changed at all. Any of these options. The only thing I saw was that volumetric fog setting. So let's go ahead and apply that. There we go. Player assist. So I guess these are like hand-holdy deals where if you're stuck, the game senses you not doing anything for a while, or you get stuck, it offers I don't know, things you can do. But here it is. So reasons that Dovetail stated that there is a Train Sim World 4 is because there are additions such as the Scenario Planner, which has received additions. So it's Scenario Planner 2.0, I think. They've added a photo mode, which should have been in the very first Train Sim World, but lo and behold, there is that. They fixed some overhead line equipment rendering, so the way it works, and basically it just takes less out of your system or console. So new Rain FX on the windshield or the glass, and then of course volumetric fog. They've added free roam, apparently. They've updated the UI and the heads-up display a tad, and then of course they are going to give us access to the editor for PC only. Of course, that will not be joining consoles. Never, ever, ever will. Most likely. I'll shave an eyebrow if it does. But that's it. Nothing, no update to the Unreal Engine. Nothing. They just like, hey, let's go ahead and just make a new game. So yeah, let's go ahead and look at To the Trains. So it's basically the same menu setup as far as I can tell. It's Train Sim World 3. You've got your quick play. I think it's some kind of randomizer. There's your journeys. Choose a route. So I've got the deluxe edition. So it gave me the Navarca Dresden, which I already had for Train Sim World 3, which is a very, very good route. And then, of course, Peterborough to Doncaster, Antelope Valley Line, and the S-Bahn Vorarlberg. Today, we are primarily going to be focusing on the Antelope Valley Line. That is the most what I am interested in at this point. That will be the entirety of today's video. So we're going to hop around there, take a look at the map as a whole, and then do the rolling stock and all that good stuff. Typical kind of the way we work here on the channel. And by we, I mean me and my 78 personalities. Alrighty, so guys, I typically like to handle these things in a certain manner where I'll take a look at the route and then the rolling stock. But I'm 99% sure that most people just want to see the train. You know, they could give a damn about scenery. I am the exact opposite. You know, the scenery matters very, very much to me, as I'm sure many of you as well. But this time, we're going to flip it up. We're going to look at the train, the rolling stock, do a little run, and then we're going to take a look at the map as a whole. All right, so let's jump right in to this Metrolink train and take a look. So I'm going to click the Antelope Valley Line timetable, and sadly, I am seeing no freight on here. Now, I believe Dovetail Games mentioned during the early access, you will only have access to the base 3 routes or whatever, you know, comes with any of the additions that you may have. So sadly, there is no freight yet. I very much am going to take a look at that when it does release. So right now you've got the Rotem bi-level cap car and the F-125, and of course the on foot. There is also the training area. So it's here. You know, I'm not going to mess with any of that. Generally, a lot of it's the same. I'm just going to try and figure it out on my own. That's generally how I learn things. Probably not the best course of action with expensive equipment, but this is a game and not actual equipment. So we'll click that, click timetable, click the F-125. So locomotive led trains always leave Los Angeles. So they'll go northbound and then into Lancaster, and then cab car led trains will go southbound into Los Angeles. So we'll click that and we'll see what we got. So we've got a lot of the non-revenue stuff. So that's LA Union to CMF, the maintenance facility, or their little depot, Metrolink, that is right there on the river. You know, that's after a run. It's going to go get cleaned up, fueled up, inspected, yada, yada. Then you've got runs like LA to Lancaster, part 1. So it's broken down into 2 parts. There's part 1 and part 2, because it's about 2 hours roughly. LA Union to Burbank, that's a quickie. This one here as well, but that one is 40 minutes. So this must be straight through, and then this must be a stopper. But geez, I mean, 20 more minutes. So you've got a lot of different options here. Largely, I believe, you know, the cab car is going to be the same, but the opposite direction. Dovetail also mentioned that this is not the official timetable. And their reason was, of course, because they added Vista Canyon, which is a stop that is not yet on the timetable in real life because the station is not yet completed. So therefore, they didn't have the actual timetable. Typical Dovetail BS, it sounds like. So, you know, is it busy? Who knows? We're not going to see any freight in this video, sadly, but I'm just going to click one and we're going to get after it. Alrighty, so basically everything that you're going to choose going north loco first is always pretty much going to start at LA Union Station. So I chose the part 2, which goes from LA Union Station to Lancaster. This one starts at, let's take a look here. Which one is this? Oh, this is the new one. Yeah, this is the one that doesn't officially exist yet. They've got this built. They've already got the bus station built in real life, just not this over here and this right here. So anyway, this is what we're gonna go from. I also set it to July, so middle of summer, and I'm not seeing anything different than what I saw just looking at the route itself. I thought it may have been autumn, but it's still very dry and not very green. I feel like it should be a bit more green. But alas, Metrolink, what this whole Antelope Valley is all about. So Metrolink, known as SCAX, which is their reporting mark, is a commuter rail system serving Southern California. Los Angeles, Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino, and Ventura counties, as well as Oceanside in San Diego County, for which they all serve. There's 8 lines that Metrolink has in total, with 67 stations, I believe soon to be 68, on about 550 miles of track. I don't know what the daily ridership is. Last I saw it was somewhere in the ballpark of about 15,000, roughly 4 million annually, and they are of course headquartered in Los Angeles. Operations began in 1992, and the lines they currently run are Paris Valley, Antelope Valley, which we're currently on, Arrow, the Inland Empire, Orange County, Riverside, San Bernardino, and Ventura County. And this handsome son of a biscuit is known as the EMD F-125, codename Spirit. Yeah, some locos have names. It's just called Spirit. So it's obviously a 4-axle diesel-electric passenger locomotive built by EMD between 2015 and 2021 at 40 units. The only railroad to have them is Metrolink. Now, some of you train and locomotive connoisseurs of the world, such as myself, will notice right off the bat this thing very much looks like and sounds like a big cat, aka BR Class 68, which is one of my favorite British locomotives. This thing is basically that, with more cylinders, one control cab, and of course other bits and bobs, but essentially it's the same thing. So it's powered, of course, by a Caterpillar C175-20 V20. Now the Class 68 I think is a V16. This is rated at 4,700 horsepower, capable of 125 mile an hour, so they say. I've read some bits about testing where they didn't ever actually get the thing up to 125 mile an hour, but you know, neither here nor there. This thing is about 69 feet long, weighs in at 285,000 pounds. The RPM range is 800 to 1800. It is, of course, turbocharged as part of the Big Cat engine. And the friggin' engine is just massive, 105 liters. Now, in real life, it has IETMS and PTC safety systems, which this does not have, of course. It's got 71,000 pounds starting tractive effort and 47,000 pounds continuous. Their roster numbers are 903 through 942. This one is 929, so I guess they got that right. It's got Tier 4 emissions. My favorite. The body design was by Vossloh of España, so it kind of fits with Southern California and the old, you know, Mission Spanish bits. Anyway, but this thing primarily replaced the aging fleet of the F-59 units. And like I said, the prime mover is essentially the same thing as the Brit Rail Class 68 Big Kitty. Of course, that one's got a lot less power, 16-cylinder power plant. Now, as with a lot of locomotives, especially new ones, sadly, like the Siemens Chugger, you know, it wasn't built and ran without faults, of course. It had initial problems with exhaust recycle. That's part of the whole Tier 4 BS thing. Components with that were failing and not operating correctly. You have water entering the dynamic braking compartments. A bunch of other various things, and they also had to lease some BNSF equipment to pull trains for a while some of these were off. So Vossloh, Spain, the design was basically the body, the cab, and the truck frame, and yeah, the rest of it's kind of EMD. I'd say it's about 50% American, if you want to put it like that. This face of this red-headed stepchild that only a mother could love is, of course, the Hyundai, or Hyundai. I just call it Hyundai. That's just what I call it. Hyundai. This is the Rotem bi-level coach and cab car. So these, of course, Hyundai, were built by a South Korean company that manufactures rail cars, defense equipment, plant equipment. Huge, chungus company. And of course, they built most of their own South Korean trains, rail stock, you know, that runs within South Korea and worldwide. So Rotems, the cab car and the stock as a whole, are used not only by Metrolink but also the MBTA in Boston, Tri-Rail of Miami and South Florida, and then of course Metrolink. And I think generally the sets can accommodate about northwards of 300 people maximum. They're built in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and the initial order of 117 cars was put down for Metrolink. Of course, they got more. They are stainless steel exterior, and they have a new age kind of impact absorption zone in the front. So I think that's part of why the front is so ridiculous looking, or the back, whichever way you're looking at it. But I think now Metrolink has about 136 cars in total, along with cab cars thrown in there, and they were built 2010 and onwards. So enough blabbing. Let's have a looky. Alright, so while I was spieling, another one pulled up, so that's kind of neat. Overall, visually, I think they did an okay job. Model-wise, at Dovetail Games has never truly been a problem. A lot of their stuff has looked okay. Now, a lot of nuanced things they have missed historically and probably will continue to, but I'd say overall, the shape and the overall look of the thing, looks pretty close to the real thing. You've got some weathering down below, so it's not just completely clean. Plenty of just grime and rail dust all along the bottom there. The shape of this thing couldn't have been the easiest to make. But the dimensions seem to kind of do the trick. They've got this kind of funky inset glass on the windshield. That looks pretty nice. The overall shape of it, it's some decent looking stock. It's still kind of overall got that plasticky look to it. I feel like some of the 3D artistry has kind of gone down a hair since the original Train Sim World, before it even went to consoles or anything. But it is what it is. The undercarriage looks okay. The chassis, it's a bit bright. Lots of nice little details, decals, logos, warnings. Visually, it looks okay. The colors look okay. That venting looks pretty nice. The fans don't look that great. Like when you get up top here, that does not look great at all. That one's okay, but that, yikes. Some more mesh. There's your horn. I believe F-125's Metrolink as a whole use the Nathan K2s. That is obviously a 2-chime. Pretty sure it's Nathan K2s. A bit of weathering at the top. You got your ice skates, or your IETMS and PTC aerials, which do nothing in this instance. Overall, I think it looks pretty good. I mean, it's a nice looking locomotive. Smaller, finer details, I probably would not notice unless I sat here with a fine-tooth comb and a magnifying glass for hours and hours. But it looks okay, I guess. I mean, it doesn't look fantastic like some of the really good Train Sim Classic stuff, but it doesn't look horrible either. It's I'd say upper mid, kind of like the Root itself. The Rotem coaches look pretty decent too. I'm not totally thrilled with the stainless effect. They've done stainless coaching before that were a bit more passable than this. Of course they could play the whole weathered card. But yeah, again, looks okay. Got some nice weathering here and there. Got your logos, decals, the big chunky ass disc brakes. Got the reporting mark on there, SCAX, and a date. Your passenger information there. Go look at this hideous thing again. I know a lot of people like the Rotem cab car, and that's fine, but the thing is hideous. I'm sorry. If Napoleon Dynamite was a train, that would be Napoleon Dynamite's train, I guess. Just in the windows, you can't see crap out of those things. I mean, maybe in real life, but you'll see in a minute. But again, it looks okay. It looks pretty close to real life. Nice weathering, scratches, bug splatters all throughout. The colors look pretty good. Aside from the overall just extreme brightness in Train Sim World always, and the desaturated look, looks all right. Let's get in. Woo. All right, we are in the Spirit, the F-125. This thing has got an interesting viewport as well. It looks like it would be larger on the outside, doesn't it? But it's actually not. Yeah. Overall, so right off the get-go, the inside of this thing just looks super plasticky. Now, I'm sure a lot of the materials are just that in real life, but it's another one of those things where it just seems like nothing is shaded. It's just like the lighting in here is just horrible. You know, I'm not seeing any scuffing on the desk or, you know, dirtiness. And these things are relatively new, but that's not exactly what I mean. It just looks very... just meh in here. Like there's no depth to anything. It's kind of all just very flat. Yeah, okay, let's put the hood back on. Yikes, there's a lot of crap on here. The stuff on the top right now. I know you can change a lot of that now, so we'll probably get around to that. Let's hop up out of the Seat. Can you go back here? No! That is lame. That's extra lame. Open and close the doors, of course. Should be able to do the same with the windows. Sounds like there's sound occlusion as well. Let's see what we got. HEP should already be running. That's your head and power, of course. That is the secondary power unit in the locomotive that powers the train set themselves. That's how they're able to have air conditioning and lights, etc. So that's all your HEP stuff. Horn backup, car door override, rear marker lights, front marker lights, step lights. We'll turn the number boards. Car body lights. What the hell? We'll turn that on. And we are going to look at this at night momentarily. Just give me a minute, guys. We'll take a look at night with the whole volumetric fog thing that they've added. And we'll see how that works. This is your ISO switch here. It's already set to run. It's already, you know, should be good to go. I guess you can sit in that seat back there if you wanted to. Harder. Ooh, circuit breaker panel. Let's see what we can break here. Alright, what do we got? Radio. Should be a radio. Video killed the radio star. TS breaker. On. Alerter. Cut in. Let's see. All this seems to be where it needs to be. Air conditioning, absolutely. All right, good deal. Let's shut that down. Can you raise the seats up and down? It would not appear so. That was, you know, it's kind of dumb, I guess, but that was probably one of my favorite things about some of the stuff in older TSWs is being able to put them up and down. You know, overall the interior looks nice. It just looks like nothing shaded. It's just all very flat. Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst in the world. It's got nice LED overhead lights, modern age. The secondman side or fireman side. Sidewall heater. All right, enough blue blab. Let's get in this son of a gun. We'll go down to track some, and then we'll get back and look at the coaching or the coaching stock, the rolling stock. All right. Key is in. What do we got to set here? Let's see. Gin field, you definitely want that up. All three of these you want up for operation. Rear headlights, we're going to leave those off. Front headlights are already on. Radio, absolutely nothing. It'd be cool to have a little chatter or something on there. No bell. There's your PTC, which does nothing. Let's see. We got our brake stand over here. I think this thing has blended braking. Brake mode test. We're going to set that to passenger. I think that's going to stay. Yeah, we'll just leave it like that there. We'll throw it forward. And I want to hear this baby roar. Like you can put the visors up and down. Got the eyes in the skies looking at you. Don't be picking your nose. Or do. Screw them. Stick it to the man. Alright, we've got our MFD. It's actually got SCAX on there. The reporting marks 0 miles. Man, this thing is brand spanking ass new. It kind of looks like an EMD screen. It looks like some of the stuff is squished, like some of the icons, but I mean, I think it looks fairly similar to what it should look like. Alright, it says we are cut in. Let's try the different angles here. That's what I wanted. So let's see if we can change anything. God, that's the brightest it can go. Locomotive data does nothing. So I guess it all does nothing. Okay, cool. Let's oh, we gotta open the doors. Alright, left doors unlocked. Go ahead and horn test. Now, I remember when Dovetail was showing this off, they were so proud of their American horn because it sounded somewhat correct. You know, they went here. They sound recorded a lot of this stuff. They do, you know, the thing where they zip tie microphones to every little bit. That sounds very quiet, and you know the sound is right per se. That's, you know, get that bell off. That's what the K2 sounds like. It's just like a, I don't know if it's a compression thing. There's just no depth or chunk to the horn. It just sounds very thin. It's like one, you know, single channel audio, just very. God dang it. There we go. I was getting blocked by the invisible walls. Yeah, some of the areas you go around, it does not change the sound at all. I mean, it is a 2 chime, and they're a little bit, oh, what's up, ponies? Dude, do we have animated haunces in Transim Warudo? I like horses. Horses are cool. They're like big dogs. All right. Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, it's one thing like recording sounds, but then taking those sounds, and then making them sound good in a game. 2 totally different things. All right, let's lock them up. It's just it's too quiet. Like it doesn't sound like it's in stereo or something. It's. All right, let's go. Vincent / Actone. Let's get it. Probably should have peeled off the auto brake and then left the independent brake on, but all right, we're scooching. Oh, you've earned a reward. You used a brake. So this thing is a Caterpillar. It's EMD, but it's a Caterpillar. So it's, you know, it doesn't have that traditional American locomotive sound. But I'm gonna turn this sumbitch back up real quick here, guys. Sorry, I had to turn it down. Audio, we'll do 80. Yep, there we go. It actually sounds pretty decent. Run sound wise, sounds pretty decent. Let's notch down. You can hear a little bit of rolling sound, like, you know, chassis, the axles, that whole thing, but they sound, again, there's just like no real depth to it. It doesn't sound like it's heavy. It's hard to explain. After being so anal about sounds and train sims, it's sometimes hard to explain things. All right, 2.2% grade. There's one notch. There's two. This isn't going to be some kind of clinic or operating EMD, F125, 101, anything like that. This is going to be for scientific purposes and testing purposes. Notch 3. More? Nope, wrong way. There's 4. You've got a lot of the, I think 90% of it's like the braking system, the spitting, the air, like the dryer sounds. A lot of your newer EMDs tend to have those. They just make a absolute shitload of sounds like that. 5. It's like the attractive effort gauge works. I kind of want to let the alerter go, see what that sounds like here momentarily. Seven. Can hear a little bit of flange squeal in there. And notch 8. Yes, we're speeding, but that's fine. This is for testing. Testing purposes. I wonder if it set the train up to have rear marker lights on by default. I know a lot of stuff in the past. There's the alerter. Nice, pretty decent. It's got that slow rise. I wonder if the rear has the marker lights on by default. No, it doesn't. I don't know why Dovetail Games can't make something that's North American where it puts the rear markers on by default. That's sad. I don't know if anything in the game can. I think some stuff can, but alright, it's probably high time we power down. Let's try a little dynamic braking. Driving significantly over the speed limit. Thanks for the notification there. Alright. Put the dynamic to setup. See some negative amperage. So they actually got that right. It's percentage based and not notched, like a lot of the stuff you see in Train Sim Classic, for example. Now we are going uphill while I'm testing this, so it's going to make slowing down a little bit easier. 60% dynamic, 86%, and a hundo. Yeah, they don't seem overpowering at all. They seem like dynamics. They're really just supposed to control the speed of a train and not so much stop a train. And I am going uphill. I went from 0.5 to 1.5 now, so that helped a bit. One thing I'm noticing, though, operating this thing and other stuff in Train Sim World is, you know, there's just no real feel to anything. It doesn't feel like the power is loading in the unit. It doesn't, as much as you can say feel through your fingers on a mouse and a keyboard, it doesn't really feel like you're operating a heavy piece of machinery. The thing is glued to the tracks. It barely moves and sways. You barely hear any clunking and popping, and it just seems very fabricated. I don't know. All right, let's try some air now. Minimum app. Now this is 2%. This is basically part of the main grade right here. %. There's 40% on the auto. Brake wise, it seems okay. Holy tunnel lighting Batman. Jesus Christ. Oh my god. I thought they fixed this in Train Sim World 3. What in the hell? Yeah, so the motion of that, braking was okay. It still doesn't really feel like you're... I mean, we were doing like 80 a minute ago, and it just did not seem like we were doing 80 miles an hour. It's just one of the things with Train Sim World, why I've just stuck more and more to Train Sim Classic, is there's some really good stuff, and there's some really good stuff in Train Sim Classic that translate all those feelings, you know, sounds, playability, physics, and then you've got this brand new fangled fourth Train Sim World, which still doesn't really grasp that. Other than that, the 125 seems okay. The sounds are legit. They just, I don't know if it's the compression or whatnot. They needed to be a bit more broad, wider, a bit more depth. I'm no sound engineer, but you know, playing stuff that's had great sound versus poor sound, you definitely kind of learn between the two over time. So that's the 125, not bad. Let's go ahead and check out the Rotem Scrotum Cab Cur. Alrighty, guys, we are in Lancaster in the bi-level cab car, the Scrotum, and I put fog on because volumetric fog. I guess you can kind of see with the headlights. It might be hard to see, you know, if you're watching on your cell phone or what have you. You know, you can see some beamage. I guess it does look a little different, but I mean, this is, again, this is no reason to have a brand new train sim world. This is an option essentially they forgot to tick in Train Sim World 3 with their, you know, their engine, their building, if you will. So let's make a new game about it. But anyway, let's get in the scrote. Look at this view, man. I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm in a spaceship for starters. You can't see crap. I'd much rather have a Bombardier bi-level cab car. Hundo%. This thing is like, it's like driving the M7 or an M3 even, or it's just like a little slit you look through. All right, anyway, enough bitching. Here is the coach. Again, very bright. Just the overall look of Train Sim Worlds, how it looks. No shading, no depth. I mean, just look at the corners. Just see how clean that is? It looks like trash. Lighting still kind of got that institutional look to it. You know, there's just, it's not natural looking. What's up there, fella? Nice hat. Nanner hat. The interior looks okay, though. They've got some nice plaque in Metrolink logoage here and there. The dead end, of course. Por favor. These are very low-res decals. My God. Come on, Dovetail. Yeah, we can do better than that. Little old-ass Gen 12 consoles can handle it. Or wait, what is Gen 8? Can you hit the emergency thing? Nah, it sucks. Alright, so upper level. Hold on. You can see the fog in the friggin' train car. Jesus Christ. That looks like ass. Seats look okay. The upholstery, it's kind of got that nasty rubber. Luckily, you can wipe nasty, greasy-headed people's crap off the seats with that kind of texture. Got your fire extinguisher and your emergency exit. That goes through into the other car. Go down in the lower section. Got your trash can. There's your shitter. Shitter's full. Open the door. Hello, yes, just barge right out. No problem, don't worry about me. Alright, let's get back in. Coaches look alright. They're coaches. I could really not care that much. I feel like the interior in this cab looks hella better than the F-125. You know, it's got some depth to it. It's grungy and grimy, and it looks more natural. It looks more lived in. Looks more used. Looks more real. Yeah, I mean, even the seat, like, why they didn't do this for the F-125, I know not. That was fun. All right, what do we got? TMS. Number lights on. ATS. I'm gonna set ATC. All right, let's throw our key in. It should already be set up. Let's see here. Fuel pump is on. Gen field on. Cab setup switch to setup. Oh wait. Cab set up switch. ¿A dónde estás? El cab setup switch. What am I looking for here? Oh, it's that. There we go. Okay, I guess that did it. Engine run is good. It's amazing that it's foggy inside the train. All right, let's see. Lights are on. Good deal. What else we got here? Gauge lights all the way up. That screen doesn't have anything on it. That's kind of lame. Let's see. Got the brakes in. That is muy importante. Now, this is a cab car. It's a control car. The engine's at the other end, so there's not going to be any vroom vroom noise up here, obviously. Let's see what kind of views we got here. Oh, this is a real important view, guys. I'm going to be using this endlessly. What is that all about? All right, let's close them up. Sound pretty good, the door alarm. Look how high you are in this thing. It's crazy. All right. We'll give her 3. So I'm pretty sure the cab car uses the same K2, but for whatever reason, I feel like this one sounds a little bit better. It's got that like kind of scratchy, almost like a gurgly. God, use your words, Sean. Yeah, I can't think of it, but let's try and listen to the cab car sounds here, shall we? These cab cars, especially double deckers, bi-levels, generally have a lot of clunking, and popping, and groaning. You can hear a little bit. I'm still not convinced with the horn. It's like, yes, that's the horn sound. You know, it's like, say you're getting a cut of beef, a steak, from a market, and then you go home and cook it, and it's not that great, and then you give it to like a 4-star Michelin chef, and it's just amazeballs. Like, it's the same product, it's just I don't know if I'm trying to think if that makes sense or not. Yeah, that's the cab car. Let's go ahead and dump it, see what happens. Emergency. I'm pleasantly surprised with braking. It seems to feel pretty realistic. You know, it's still kind of, I'm saying feel with air quotes because it's a game, but it still just feels like the thing is just glued to the ground, to the rails, like it's not riding atop the rails, if that makes any sense. Yeah, cab cars okay too. I think the interior is definitely better looking than the F-125 interior. So last thing I can think of with this early access look at this is I want to see what night lighting looks like. So we're going to go to Los Angeles Onion Station and see what it looks like at night. All right, so it's 2100 hours, not quite midnight, but I'm kind of surprised at this. This looks okay. So they've gone back to the drawing board with the actual lamp or bulb or light emitted color, and it's more natural. It looks realistic. You can even see the light bleeding through the inside of the coaches onto the ground back there, which is what I'm assuming. You see the stars in the sky. This looks okay. I remember, you know, things are always different. They're not always the same with Train Sim World stuff. I remember the cab car lighting on the Caltrans stuff was like bright as shit, and then the locomotive was not. It was just kind of like meh. I see a little bit of glow to the floodlights up there. It's a bit bright, but let's go see what LA looks like. Yeah, I'm not seeing much of anything new here. Still looks pretty samey. The overall night sky is extremely bright, but you know, Train Sim World has always been just super washed out in itself. I'm not really seeing anything that's catching me. You know, I feel like the light emitting sources actually look a bit better, like these floods. But overall, yes, I mean, SimRail still has Train Sim World beat ass whooped as far as lighting. You know, daytime, nighttime, whatever. This is where I'm supposed to go. I'm obviously not in the train. Platform lighting, bit bright. It's kind of got like a blue color to it. Looks okay. Stuff like this up close, I'd say looks a little bit better. But if you're looking like at the big picture, overall night sky, horizon stuff, I don't see any difference. It, you know, it pretty much looks the same. Yeah, that's the trans and fog and night. Okay. All right, then. I have got a totally random timetable set here. This is a train that's going to go from Los Angeles Union Station, which we're currently sat at, to Villa Princesa, which is basically in Santa Clarita, as are 3 or 4 of the stations in that general vicinity. So this is called the Antelope Valley Line. It is a Metrolink line that runs from LA to Lancaster in the Mojave Desert, essentially. So in the Antelope Valley Line, you are going to get the Metrolink train set with the Hyundai Rotem cars and the F-125. You're supposed to get some freight, because freight does run through the valley over to LATC here, a container yard. So they have said if you don't have Sherman Hill, that BNSF from Cajon Pass will fill the slot by default. If you do have Sherman Hill, then the actual prototypical Union Pacific stuff should fill in there. So it's almost 80 miles. It's like 77 semantics. 13 passenger stations, although there are currently 12 in Modernity IRL. There is another one being built that Dovetail apparently got privy access to from Metrolink themselves, because they actually went here for several weeks and recorded sounds, took a lot of photos, talked to Metrolink staff, etc., etc. Kind of like the Caltran thing that they did from, what was it, San Francisco to wherever the heck, I don't remember. That was an actual decent route. What was that, Train Sim World 2020? And then, of course, with all the updates over time, it was slowly murdered, and it now sucks. It's terrible. So anyway, that aside, 13 passenger stations in its modern setting, so 2023 to this day. Let's see. It's going to be passenger mainly with a handful of intermodal freight. We'll take a peek at that in a moment and see what pops up. And then there's also an F7 Heritage service that uses the F7 that was an add-on for Cajon. It's going to have 5 scenarios. Let's see. PTC doesn't work naturally. Why would you want it to anyway? It's roughly about a 2-hour run from end to end for an all-stopper. So yeah, let's get into it. So just a little bit about Metrolink and the Antelope Valley Line, for which we'll be running here momentarily. And what it is, just for those that may not know, of course, is a commuter rail line serving the northern Los Angeles County region from LA to Lancaster. Again, it's 13 stations, although in real life currently there's 12, so there will be one new. It's at about 77 miles. It's got an urban setting here in the LA portion. Then as you head north and then east, becomes suburban, a couple of towns, neighborhoods, and then rural through the canyons out into the desert. Now, there is a 79-mile-an-hour max speed up and down most of the line, as are a lot of lines here in the States. But on average, it's, I want to say roughly probably 25, 30, 35 mile an hour. But this is basically a portion of the modern-day line that was completed by Southern Pacific way back in 1876, basically linking Los Angeles in this region to the rest of the states. Of course, they operated freight and passenger service in this area until 1979. Now, in about 1990, the Los Angeles Transit Authority purchased the right-of-way from Southern Pacific, and there you have the line that was built today, the AVL. New ops began in 1992, and it was initially known as the Santa Clarita Line, because that is pretty much where it ended at the time. That's where trains originated or terminated and ran back here to LA. So back during that era, there was a massive earthquake in the area. I think it happened in 1994. It's called the Northridge quake. But essentially, it sped up plans that Metrolink and the city had to extend the line over into the desert, the Mojave Desert, in Lancaster. It did a lot of damage to the area. Railroad, highway systems, interstates. So FEMA stepped in and helped basically fund the new extension from Santa Clarita on to Lancaster with the help of the United States Navy, what they call CBs, which are like construction crews essentially, and public works as well. And they built the line that extended in a matter of days to kind of alleviate some of the traffic that you know, a lot of the damage was causing getting in and out of the area, because there's many mountain ranges around here. So it took a matter of days for them to build the line. And then another couple weeks, and they built several stations, which are standing to this day, that this line uses. They were eventually replaced with new and permanent structures, except Via Princesa, which is still the same. And I think the current timetable is about 22, 24 trains per day. Now, there are different trains. They don't, you know, not all trains on the timetable run from LA to Lancaster. There's some that run from this area, LA, to Via Princesa, which is the one that I selected here, and so on and so forth. So there's other services besides that. So that's basically a weekday. And then there's services that are kind of chopped down for weekends, but they run 365 days a year. So what I traditionally like to do with these videos is I will look around the map as a whole, little bits of history, infrastructure, how transportation works, and then we will look at the trains themselves, obviously, and take a little ride. But this, of course, is in Los Angeles. We'll pop the map open here. It's currently where we're at, LA Union Station, and then it runs north and then east and then up into the desert. This is the basically the very western edge of the Mojave Desert, to Lancaster. So Los Angeles, of course, known as the City of Angels, very massive city. It needs pretty much no introduction, so I'll try and keep it short and sweet. Most populous city in California, obviously, with almost 4 million residents, probably more by now. and the second most populated city in the U.S. behind, of course, New York City. So Union Station, which we're currently staring at here, this is the passenger hall, is the largest passenger terminal in the western United States, which opened back in 1939, replacing, I think it was called La Grande and Central Stations, kind of combined, if you will, from older railroads. Now, this station here serves Amtrak, Metrolink, and light rail. So these tracks you see here, this is the, I want to say it's the Metro A line. So that's a light rail, kind of like trams, and that's where those go. They kind of branch off to the left of the screen, and then they'll kind of come back out, and then the lines cross a bit further as we head north. The closest platforms to us here, as we watch this this F-125 pull these coaches out, these are the Metrolink platforms, and then further in is Amtrak. Okay, so we've got Los Angeles. That is downtown Los Angeles. It looks pretty realistic. It does not seem that they did a 2D cutout. If they did a pretty good job of not making it look 2D. Yeah, it's not 2D. So they actually made the city, which is nice. Looking back at the Harlem line and what they did with New York City. What an absolute joke. That does look a little bit better. The buildings look appropriate, so on and so forth. So this is Los Angeles Union Station. Of course, like all big passenger stations in America, they're all called Union Station. Here is the terminus over here. So these tracks closest to us are the light rail, or trams, as we call them here in the States. The platforms closest to us on the standard gauge rail over there are Metrolink, so that's us. And then the ones further in are all predominantly Amtrak. It looks like we've got some new, I might be wrong here, but it looks like we've got some new grass and weeds. I don't recall seeing these. Not really in any of the U.S. stuff in the past, anyway. The platforms look pretty nice. I like the cautionary tales written on the side there in the line. Stay behind the yellow line. Blah, blah, blah. You know, overall, it looks fairly legit. LA Union Station. The, you know, the platforms look pretty good. The overhang signs seem to be where they need to be. It's still a little bit too clean, like a lot of stuff in Train Sim World, sadly. But anyway, over here is the bus depot. So this is a massive transfer station. You can take bus to train or train to bus, so on and so forth. This is the actual bus depot over here, this building. This massive tower right here that kind of looks like it belongs to part of the cityscape is actually the Department of Transportation. So they handle, govern, and control basically trains, buses, you name it. Anything transportation-wise in Los Angeles or LA County. Got some palm trees. The distant scenery is not so great. Very bare. You know, also I'd like to throw it out there for those that may not be aware, you know, new to Train Sim World or Dovetails stuff over the years. Largely, this is all going to be stuff from Cajon Pass, which came out with Train Sim World 3. So, of course, you know, they're going to use a lot of those assets. I'm assuming pretty much the only new things are maybe going to be some new grass, of course, the rolling stock, the Metrolink train set, and the stations. That's probably pretty much it. They're going to lessen their work as much as possible. It looks like they tried to add a bit of clutter here, which is an attempt, you know, but a lot more could be added. This is LA, you know, there's just going to be crap everywhere. A lot of times with Train Sim World stuff just looks too clean, sadly. But the actual platforms and everything look okay as far as I can tell. You got the signage and the passenger display. You got some floodlights, or not floodlights, but the announcements up there, the speakers. We got one scrolling here. I don't know if that looks legit or not. I'm not some passenger information display nut. We're like, it's the wrong font. It's not dot matrix. I don't know, stuff like that. Don't really care too much for it. Got the stairs going underneath, of course. I'm assuming you can't go in the actual terminal itself because it's a very nice terminal, the station. But the colors look correct. I mean, you know, as a whole, this area looks fairly decent. I don't know why they got all these people over here for the metro, since there obviously is no metro, sadly. So, yeah, that is LA. Of course, we'll hop in the train and depart from here and scoot around in a moment. We're going to keep looking at the map here as a whole. The render of the tracks is still absolute garbage. You see the shading of the tracks in front of us, how it just pops out right in front of you? That is not far at all. I get it, Dovetail. You know, you're trying to save resources on these old, ancient, cobwebbed consoles, but at least give us some options to fix this kind of stuff on PC. For the love of God, please. Just saying, that looks terrible. It looked like that last year. It looked like that the year before that. On and on it goes. Just look how flat it looks mid-screen in the distance there. No shading, no shadows whatsoever. It looks terrible. I'm not a fan of the tracks themselves. The ballast actually looks okay. The color looks okay. You know, for my East Coast eyes. I'm not a Cal foamer. But I just feel like the tracks themselves and the ties look super dark. You know, these things are shiny. It's almost like a shiny chrome on the top. Tracks that are used a lot look like they are polished daily because, well, they basically are. You can't really see that. They just look really dark. Does not look that great. Anywho, scooching right along. There goes the metro right there, the light rail. Big signal bridge. 1 lead, 2 lead, 3 lead, blue lead. Dad jokes. Not a dad. Yeah, looks okay. Signal bridge looks okay. Here's the big sweeping curve with all 5 tracks. And then we've got the LA River up here. So this is Mission Tower right here. This was a very important part of railroading in this area from way back in the day. It basically is now replaced, so not really in use in the sense I'm talking about. Basically replaced by the Metrolink Dispatching Center. But this tower once controlled the eastern approach by Southern Pacific, which kind of, you know, fanned the flames of rail traffic in this area. So that is the Mission Tower. Looks pretty good. It could be crudified a little bit if I had my way, but it's pretty much what it looks like. They all kind of had the same look in this area. In fact, there's several around this area. But here we go with the spaghetti of tracks, and I will try and lay these out for you as best I possibly can. So that, of course, goes west into Los Angeles, which was a Southern Pacific line. Going back east across the river there, yes, that giant concrete ditch is, well, they call it a river. That would go to Yuma, which again was Southern Pacific. So that's the tower there. There's tracks both sides of the river. This side over here goes down to Fullerton, which was ATSF, or Atchison, Topeka, Santa Fe, which is now, of course, BNSF. Geez, where does... I think this side goes up to Pasadena. And then if we were to go across the bridge here onto that side, which we cannot do, which sucks, this side would be UP, Union Pacific, of course, and that would go down to Riverside. And then if you were to go north, it would go... they would also go to Pasadena, Glendale, I think it's San Francisco. So it was a lot of different railroads. It still kind of is. UP that side, BNSF that side, and then of course Amtrak. I just made up a new train line. Amtrak, right today. Amtrak and Metrolink. There goes one there. That seeing that made me bite my tongue in half. But anyway, one of the big kind of poo-poo things, which I saw about, when Dovetail started showing this route off, is they didn't add the LATC rail yard. So this is a Union Pacific container yard, and it is freaking massive. In fact, over the last couple of years, they had to be billions of dollars upgrading it, making it larger, more modernized, so on and so forth. That is where your UP trains that are supposed to run this route go to and depart, is the LATC container yard. So it's like an intermodal yard. It stands for Los Angeles Trailer and Containers. That's LATC. So that's where that comes from. Of course, Dovetail said they didn't add it because reasons. They've always got reasons why they didn't do something. They just, I guess, didn't want to take the time to do it, which sucks. But yeah, I mean, because if you want to run some freight, some of the intermodal freight, the Uncle Pete freight, through the valley, and then here, you can't. You can't hook up to a train. You can't grab a train and go. You can't terminate your service here. You just can't go there, which sucks. So, yeah, anyway, it used to be part of the the Southern Pacific as well, this whole area. There was a massive depot or roundhouse, all kinds of stuff over there back in the day for Southern Pacific, but sadly no more really. So this is the Los Angeles River. It's a giant concrete ditch. So the headwaters of this river, which come from the north, obviously going this way, and then that way goes south, actually goes to the coast over here. So the headwaters of the LA River begin in the Simi and Santa Susana Mountains, and it flows about 50 some odd miles through the San Fernando Valley, which we're going to be going through here shortly, through LA, which we're currently in, to its mouth, which is at Long Beach, or the Port of Long Beach. But it used to be free-flowing, like a regular-ass river, and now it is not. It's just a giant concrete ditch. It caused frequent floodings, back in the day, and it was modernized in its appearance and kind of dammed up and slowed down and just tried to control the water, if you will. So looking back in this direction to the west, that's downtown Los Angeles over there. Sadly, you can't see the Dodger Stadium. So the Dodgers is a baseball club, big baseball team, heavily worshipped over there, of course. I don't see any kind of remnants of the stadium or where it should be. It's not really letting me go that far, but it's in this general area back here. It might be a little bit north of here over the ridge, but I don't see it. I mean, it's a massive complex, but sadly it is not there. This is one of two bridges. I forget their names. They look pretty good. They kind of look like the LA River bridges in this area, so it looks like they actually tried to a degree with the bridges. As one of two. There's another one right up there, as you can see, that the tracks go under. See a guarded gate here. That's some extreme tire killing material right there. That like 2-foot gap between the road and the lines. My oh my oh my oh my. Alright, northward ho. Looking back towards Los Angeles again, this is where the Metro line crosses over. So as you saw back at Union Station, it kind of veered off northwesterly, and then it kind of comes back around and then goes across the Metrolink line here, and then sort of, I'd say that's sort of north there. But these actually look pretty nice, for them to not even be here for any kind of purpose whatsoever, which I don't really understand. So yeah, that is the light rail, or the metro, that runs across. The little facility here, which is before us, going a little bit more northward, is the LA Metro kind of maintenance depot, as you can see by the overhead line here, which again, looks all right. Looks pretty good. The area through here as well looks fairly decent. The rock face and all that good stuff. It looks like they did add grass, but it kind of does this LOD thing. The farther away you get, it kind of just pops in like a lot of the stuff does in Train Sim World. The grass honestly looks kind of goofy when you see it like that because it just looks massive. I mean, you know, to think of grass and then look at these things have got to be like 8 feet tall a pop. Um, so it almost looks like sugar cane or something. But this little bit over here looks pretty good as well. A couple of palm trees poking up through there, as palm trees are, you know, prevalent to the area. Okie dokie. So here we have the Metrolink CMF. So this is basically one of two Metrolink facilities. This area is actually in the southern portion of what used to be Southern Pacific's, or ex-Southern Pacific's, Taylor Yard, which was a pretty massive yard that ran right along the river here. Basically, they do inspection and repair here 365 days a year. Basically, trains will do their service in the morning, and when they come back on the return run, they'll actually run through here for the usual inspection. They'll get fueled up, cleaned, and then the same kind of deal will go on for the afternoon services as well. The area looks pretty much one-to-one how it should, trackage-wise. I think you could do some non-revenue stuff coming through here, getting trains ready to go. You know, the area looks okay. It's, you know, it's got that Train Sim World thing where when you kind of just stop and look around, everything looks extremely washed out, desaturated, and it, you know, it transmits into the set pieces here, and it just, you know, they poke out. They're not grunge enough. They're not, I don't know. It just, it needs to be a bit more cluttery. The train's running. That sumbitch is pretty loud. Got some dudes chatting. Yeah, the facility itself looks okay, as far as I can tell. Trains will be sat here throughout the day. Mainly during the middle of the day and not so much in the early morning or mid-afternoon. This, of course, is the LA River that cuts through. The line actually branches off of the LA River up ahead here. We got a train wash right up through here. Like some fuel racks. We got one coming in. The time I selected is, it's fairly early morning. I think it's like 8:30 in the AM. So he's coming back in. So right up here is Southern Pacific's Old Taylor Yard, which is obviously just north of downtown LA. It looks like they kind of got it right, what it looks like currently. The track should end up here, and indeed it does, and it's just a cleared out area pretty much just like this. So Taylor Yard had a lot of great history right outside of LA, of course, on the river. River's over to the left. They had a station. It was a classification yard and the headquarters for the former Southern Pacific Railroad in this SoCal region, or the SoCal operations, if you will. So now it's going to be replaced, obviously, with public park, housing, you know, probably little hooty-doo coffee shops, you know, IPA beer bars, all the usual crap, you know. But there used to be a roundhouse here. It was a fairly large yard. It was a very important part of their fruit delivery service. Gosh, I can't remember the name of it. It eludes me. This is the main line here, of course. That doesn't look good at all. That could have been cleaned up. This terrain here, the bank. Yikes, that's a big yikes. But yeah, they kind of got that right, so that's neat. I mean, you can't really see that anything was here, obviously. It looks like they got a portion of the old roundhouse here. They did, so that's kind of cool as well. Looks like they took one of their water tank assets and just kind of dug it into the ground, but this is where the turntable would have been. So yeah, they actually got that pretty nice. That's kind of cool. I don't know if it looks like this now. I mean, there could be houses and apartments here now. I am not 100% sure. So yeah, that is the ex-Southern Pacific Taylor Yard. Alrighty, now we are in Glendale, California. So this is the first passenger station heading northward out of Los Angeles, Glendale. So I think the first train essentially arrived here in about 1883, just a little bit of history, for the Pacific Electric Railway, which eventually ran from Glendale, or through Glendale from Burbank to LA in the early 1900s all the way into 1955. So it had quite a bit of history as far as trucking passengers back and forth to the greater Los Angeles area. But it's this station currently is home to a stop for the Antelope Valley Line, which is, of course, Metrolink, this line that we're looking at, and the Ventura County Line, which is a separate Metrolink line. And then, of course, there's a bus station over here as well. So when I got in this area, you're kind of smacked in the ears with this kind of city sound. I guess that's what it's supposed to be. You can see LA just in the distance there. And looking around, I'm kind of peeved. I mean, yes, this is a dry area, but it almost looks a little too dry. You know, the distant mountains and scenery could have used some greening up a bit. But anyway, Glendale looks pretty good. I mean, they got these stations pretty much one-to-one as far as I can tell from what all I've seen over the years in this area. I've never been here, never been to California. Don't ever plan to. You know, but the tiny bit I know about the area, you know, they pretty much got right. The stations are unique, pretty much one for one. Yeah, little details like that. It's got that old kind of Spanish mission look to it because, you know, as far as colonialism, you know, this is where it all started with Spanish missions in this area. So that's kind of where you get the design for a lot of the stuff. But it's actually a decent looking station. They've got the old bent kind of wrought iron thing over the window there. Yeah, station looks pretty good. The entrance as well. Got you a little fountain there. Not really going to see that, of course. That's loud. I don't know if it's supposed to be wind. But it wasn't this loud in LA, which is weird. So I wonder if we're having like a, gosh, what was that Union Pacific route that came out for Train Some World years ago that had the crazy sound that would just smack you in the face out of nowhere? Signs look pretty good. There's your stop boards for your train crew, the engineer. We got some weird ass Valle del Antelope. I guess that's Spanish for Antelope Valley. Not totally sure, but this little area here, looking back this way, this actually looks pretty decent. Slightly impressed with that. Let's keep on going. So while we're here as well on the note of geography, it's as good a time as any to go over that. So the mountain range we are currently facing here, which is north of LA, kind of what the Hollywood Hills, as it's known as a part of, is the Santa Monica mountain range. So that is going to be that. Over here to the left is what you have. Let's see, it's got to be these back here. Those are the Verdugo Mountains. They're kind of like a little chain in themselves. And then the mountains we're going to be going up towards, and where the line crosses through the Soledad Canyon. That's where the line crosses through into the desert. That is the San Gabriel Mountains, which is a pretty good sized mountain range. And then way up yonder, farther, probably actually around this range here, a bit more northward, is the... gosh, I think it's the Santa Susana Mountains. So this area in particular is known as Sun Valley. I think farther down, and then the farther north you go, it is what's known as, of course, the San Fernando Valley. It's worth noting this area as we trek forward here, or northward. So we are between Glendale and Burbank. This is Interstate 5. So this is essentially the main thoroughfare for automobilia that runs north and south out of the area. Wouldn't want to drive on it ever in my entire life. I-4 through Orlando. It's been enough for this old boy. I was incorrect about the mountain range. So this is Burbank. So the farther north that you track, you'll start seeing a bit of a skyline. Burbank's a pretty solid sized burb. They've got a very modest kind of skyline. You'll also notice you don't hear the loud ass kind of ambient sound anymore that was down in Glendale. You can see some weirdness going on in the distant terrain there. My God, look at those houses. Imagine living in one of those houses with how the foundation in the house itself is arranged. It's like some Ripley's Believe It or Not type stuff. But yeah, this mountain range here, this is the Verdugo range. It's actually its own little range. There's a big park. It's all one big park, lots of trails, so on and so forth. But we're trucking up to Burbank here. We'll keep on going. I'm kind of shocked at the performance. Oh, there's the loud ass ambient sound again. I'm kind of shocked at the performance on my PC. I recently got a newer graphics card. And, you know, it's like no matter what I do, whatever kind of hardware I get from my PC, my performance never really changes for Train Sim World. It's still just a stuttery mess with things loading in. Of course, I've got it on 150% screen res and everything set at ultra, but still, a game like this I feel like should run fairly smooth for what it is and what it isn't. Oh, scooch under there. So this is Burbank. Neat little town. Big media town. That looks pretty good. It's, you know, Burbank's kind of one of those towns that's like trapped in the 40s or the 50s, so it's kind of got that almost, I don't know, is it called Art Deco vibe to it? They got the station pretty legit. It, you know, it's still got that problem with how almost nothing has a shadow or any kind of occlusion. It's just like these flat, you know, shapes that don't kind of blend with this kind of desaturated look. That's, you know, Train Sim World has always looked like that, sadly. The model itself looks pretty good. The palms look pretty good. It's a nice looking little area. So Burbank, this town is basically known as the media capital of the world. Numerous media and entertainment companies call Burbank home, with the likes of, let's see, Warner Brothers, that's a big one, Walt Disney Company, Nickelodeon Animation, and I think the Cartoon Network as well. So yeah, a lot of TV, music, is all getting, you know, published and getting their chops, getting on the airwaves out of Burbank. Look at these shadows popping in with how close I am, man. That is ridiculous. You know, nothing against console peeps if you have a console or you are playing on console, but I feel like we as PC players get the shit end of the stick when it comes to this development, because they're only going to do as much as they have to for consoles. And then you've got the argument where the newer consoles are just as good as PCs. Yes, but no. Absolutely not. You know, we're talking about memory speeds, hard drives, cooling, all kinds of different stuff come into play. And there's a lot more that could be done to make this look nicer and run better on PC. But they just choose not to because they don't need to. All their money is basically in console sales. Always has been since they've released this game for console, and pretty much always will be, sadly. So stuff like that just bothers the shenanigans out of me. Like the track. Gosh, anyway, Burbank Station looks pretty good. Digging it. Here is the little itty bitty station known as Burbank Airport North. So it's North Burbank. The main Burbank station is back down that way. And that's just what it is. It's just a connection, you know, to quickly get from train to airport if you need to. Looks fairly decent. I mean, it's basically like one of those, I call them like a bus stop station where there's just not much to it. But it, you know, looks like this as far as I can tell. You've got a lot of grasses present along the, you know, the property line here, the tracks. Got Walter White and Jesse over here cooking one up. Let me cook. Got our hot dog stand. What's up, dude, bro? Mr. Hot Dog Guy, he looks happy to be alive. Look at those bags, dude. Get some sleep. Let's see, what do we got? Hot dogs, unsalted pretzels. No thanks. A hot dog laying on a, I'm sure is a despicable and disgusting unclean surface. Some off-brand Coca-Colas. Yeah, I think they introduced those with Cajon Pass. But Ed is the Burbank airport. The airport itself is actually like right across the street here. It's literally like right here. I'm not seeing it. You can kind of see some buildings with what look like they could be hangars. Let's go up a little bit more. Gosh, this skipping and the tiles loading and crap is driving me bonkers. Here it is. Okay, yeah, there's the old hangar there. Yeah, I guess this is supposed to be it. Looks pretty bad. You know, at least could have put down a runway. But you know. And as well, it kind of gets to single line. So a lot of this track is going to be single line for the most part, just like this. Until, you know, you get to a few areas which have sidings and passings and all that. Here we have the aptly named Sun Valley because it's a valley and it's often sunny. Basically looks just like the Burbank airport. They even got Metrolink on there. How about that? I don't know that the font's right. But when is it ever for anything? Train somewhere else. But again, it's like another one of those bus station stops. Muy pequeño, very small. You know, not much of note. Sure are a lot of European trucks around here, though. Which, you know, there really aren't anywhere in the U.S. Also like to point out here, so we're a little bit north of Sun Valley. That is actually Interstate 5, which crosses back over the line, headed, it's got to be north. 'Cause there's the sun. Let me get my sundial out and throw some blades of grass into the wind. Yeah, so that's I-5 again. This right here is something you won't be able to serve, sadly. But this is a big industry for the area. This is Vulcan Materials, which in itself is a huge company. They do a lot of concrete and asphalt, so on and so forth. So they got that pretty legit. That's kind of what it looks like. It's a big pit yonder there. Of course, we've got a bunch of European trucks again, and for whatever reason, there's some old-ass tractor sitting over here. I'm pretty sure this very modern facility wouldn't be using some old-ass tractor like that. So yeah, you won't be able to go in there and do anything, to my knowledge. It's, you know, pretty much anything that's freight on this is going to be intermodal. So, but it's a huge facility, a very large and profitable company. Control point, Tuxford. So we have CP signs, or we got one anyway. Check this billboard. Horizon 5G. Okay. A couple miles north, you've got Whiteman Airport, which is just a tiny little kind of private or regional airport. Got a lot of little dual and quad seater aircrafts. I mean, that's a lot of airplanes. They all look exactly alike. And then we've got these suspect looking fellows over here. I don't know. I'm going to throw a few things out there. Southern California. Suspect looking people. Box truck. Convertible. Airport. You do the rest. Just came across what I'm assuming are some of the old color position lights. I think these are the first ones I've seen in this line so far. Interesting. Second or third one of these I've seen so far. I'm assuming this is supposed to be a defect detector, which detects hotbox dragging equipment, basically issues with trains. It looks like it's missing a bunch of sensors, and it's basically just a couple of poles or conduit with ladders. So, yeah. Here are the standard, of which I'm pretty sure they're LED, kind of like searchlight style signaling on the route. Alrighty, we made it to the next station stop or area. So this is Silmar, or it's also known as San Fernando because it's in the San Fernando Valley. But again, it looks fairly appropriate. As far as I can tell, it's got the Spanish influence of the architecture. The main building down here. Cowboy hat. That's one of your little collectibles if you're into that. Yeah, stations. Another one of those little bus stop style stations. Got your Metrolink ticket machines. Just get one, dude. Just get one. You're holding people up. So this is some newspaper here. Let's see. Dovetail Times. Crazy People Storm Golf Course. Okay. Oh, they did do that, which is nice. It's like that, I don't know if it's concrete or like a sandstone, but you can see the imprint there. Silmar, San Fernando. These stations do look pretty good. Credit where credit's due. I will definitely give them that. They look pretty nice. Landscaping as well. So, as you can tell, we're kind of closing in on the mountain ranges. It's almost like a pincer movement. Not much farther is the massive interchange of Interstate 5, the 210, or 210, and, geez, what else is up there? Oh, yeah, the tunnel. America! America! That's the American flag truck that they first put in, I think it was Sherman Hill. Here's one of your speed boards for freight and passenger. Of course, the upper one, or the higher speed, is passenger. And again, you know, looks like a speed board, kinda. But, you know, they always use this silly font. It's always the same, you know, they never really put anything into the fonts for stuff like this and the stations, you know, like the lettering on stations. And there goes a train southbound back to Los Angeles. So this is the cut. This is how trains made their way finally into the General Valley, the Los Angeles area, if you will. This is the San Fernando Tunnel up here, but this area is essentially Newhall, where it is on the other side of the tunnel. So this is a massive junction between Interstate 5, 210. There might be another highway mixed up in there as well. And I gotta say, I'm pleasantly surprised. So the farther north I've gotten, you know, I was kind of concerned if it was, you know, still going to be super duper arid, because this area, you know, if they get enough rain, in which they most definitely have over the last year, it's fairly lush. You know, it's not this valley we're going to go through up here. You know, it's not super dry. The Santa Clarita area in itself is a very pretty area. So they kind of did lush it up a bit. It is a bit green. I feel like it could be a bit more green. I'm still seeing a lot of the weird kind of what they usually have as like an autumn or fall foliage on some of this stuff, which, you know, should be a bit more green. I do have it set in September, but as a Floridian, we have two seasons, summer and not so much summer. And this, you know, I guess it could be autumn, but not. I mean, it's Southern California. They don't really, you know, they kind of got summer and spring. So, yeah, it's greened up a little bit, which is nice. Go ahead and scooch up here. So this basically cuts through the San Gabriel Mountains, and that is, I just went face first right into that. And the tunnel should be right up here. Man, the shading and the shadow thing is killing me. I hate it. I hate it. Here it is. This is the tunnel exit. So the San Fernando Tunnel, because it goes into the San Fernando Valley. I don't know if that light at the end of the tunnel is actually the other side. So the Newhall Pass and the tunnel is a mountain pass in LA County, of course, northern LA County, separating the Santa Susana and San Gabriel ranges. So it's essentially, effectively, the only way in between. Now, the area where this passes through is at about 1,755 feet elevation. and is used by, of course, the interstate and the I think it's Sierra Highway 14, and of course Metrolink and Union Pacific, all in this one area. It's kind of like a funnel, if you will. Um, the tunnel itself stretches about 7,000 feet, so I don't know how the hell I'm going to get through here. But work began on this tunnel in about 1875, and the completion of the tunnel was about close to a year and a half, 2 years later. Now, the laborers that built this had a lot of, we'll say, talent, but they had a lot of history of building tunnels in the area because they built them around Tehachapi. But it saw a lot of problems. They had constant cave-ins because the saturation of the soil, and this was the area just beyond this tunnel here was a very profitable kind of, we'll say, oil mining or oil pumping area. So the ground would also get saturated with a lot of oil, so they constantly had cave-ins, but they eventually got it built, thankfully. The geography, I think, is sandstone, so it would have been a little bit different to build through and probably a lot more crumbly. All right, let's see if I can get through here. All right, we made it to the other side. So the other side is essentially Newhall. It's a little bit more lush. Man, that helicopter, I swear, the feds are after me. It's like that scene with Ray Liotta and Goodfellas. It could be that it's set to September, but let's be honest, September's not really autumn. It's, stuff is still a bit more arid. It does look a little bit different. There is a double track through here, or a siding, of course, because it's a tunnel entrance. Newhall should be right up here. That ever-present skipping. Yay. Oh, man, it's still very, very arid. You got some trees peppered here and there, but these hills could definitely be greener. Where's the helicopter? If I'm going to keep hearing helicopter, I want to see a helicopter. Yeah, it's still a little bit dusty looking through here, man. I thought it was going to be an uptick in vegetation. This is Newhall Station. Got a platform either side. Again, it looks pretty good. It looks, legit as far as I can tell. That this guy's chasing us too. Him and the helicopter. They're feds. Got a little clock tower here. I guess it is correct. It's about 9 a.m. I've killed about 30 minutes flying around the map so far. But stations look pretty legit. All right. So we went from one valley to the next. Now we are in a new valley. So this is Newhall. And one little tiny fun fact about Newhall is it is home to the oldest surviving oil refinery in the world. So it looks like they do have CP names. This, of course, is CP Canyon. The start, essentially, semantics. So out here, they call them canyons. Where I'm from, the southeast up in Appalachia, they're called hollers or hollows. It's just a tiny valley. So I guess this is a canyon. This whole damn thing is a canyon. Essentially, it's a valley. Anyway, this is where it gets a little bit more narrow, kind of where it starts. I'm still a bit peeved that it's, pretty arid until you get really close to the canyon wall, and then you can kind of see the green. Now, I get the issue. You can't put 3D grass on hillsides, looking way over there, miles and miles away. You just can't do it. You can't have all that load into the game, etc., etc. So it's only going to be present where you're close to where it should be, sadly. Now, what they could do, like they've done over there, obviously, is make the ground texture green. Just make it a kind of overall, lighter green. I wouldn't say dark green, but a lighter green overall. But this cutting right here looks pretty smooth. I'm actually quite surprised with that. That looks fairly nice. They did have some nice rock formations starting back in Sherman Hill, for example. It looks fairly smooth, blended into the ground or the right of way onto the tracks here. So that, you know, that's fairly impressive. It's clean. It's pretty clean. We'll see how the rest looks. So coming through the canyon along here, going eastbound, does look fairly nice when you're up against it. It's just the distant scenery, and it's still just a bit too arid. That doesn't look so hot. It's amazing how they just tried so hard when you kind of enter the canyon and then you see stuff like that. Need to work on that smoothing. Not sure how it's done, but it can obviously be done. Why it wasn't done here, I'm not totally certain. Next up should be Santa Clarita, which is a pretty good sized burb or hamlet in this area. Again, they got the stations pretty legit. It's pretty much how they look. It looks nice. The little indented logo there, very colorful, kind of like a Spanish Aztec-y look. Good deal. Across the street is the actual station, if you will, or the baño, El Baños. Yeah, this little area does look pretty darn good, to be honest. It pretty much looks like this. They got that nailed. Got a little water fountain here, or not a water fountain, but a little reflecting pool, so you can look at it and reflect on the choices in your life. So Santa Clarita is a pretty good sized town. It's a nice little area, but predominantly I think what I know it for was Hollywood back in the day, and even to this day use this area for a lot of Western you know, Hollywood movie sets and areas. So that's fairly neat. But the other thing that's interesting is this is where the Metrolink trains essentially terminate. They just went from Santa Clarita to Los Angeles until, of course, like I was mentioning earlier, the advent of the quick building of the line and the stations as we trek eastward after the big Northridge earthquake. Now we're at Villa Princesa, which is basically still Santa Clarita. Santa Clarita's got technically 3 or 4 of these stations are Santa Clarita. But again, it's got the very heavily Spanish influence. This is one of the ones that was built after the large earthquake, and I think it's the only one that remained without too much updating. That was built for like an emergency use after the large earthquake. That basically is the reason this whole line was built, and it still is fascinating how quickly they were able to accomplish that. Not only that, but I mean, we're talking weeks, miles of line, you know, through a canyon, and then build all these stations in a matter of weeks. So it's pretty crazy. You got little ticket office or security booth there, whatnot, with your restrooms either side. And so the mountain range, that's to the north there. These mountains, just for those geography fans possibly like myself, these are the Sierra something. I know it's Sierra something. I think it's Sierra Pelona, something like that. And then of course the ones to the south of us that were kind of riding up against the San Gabriel. And this area is geez, what do they call it? Brain fart. Soledad Canyon. There's a massive highway that actually cuts through as well. It's I think it's Soledad Canyon Highway or something like that. Next stop, heading eastbound, is Vista Canyon. So I think this is a station that is in progress as far as being built. I don't think it's yet completed. I don't know if it's supposed to be completed this year or early 2024. So I don't know what the hell it looks like at all. I mean, there might be some reference photos out there, but apparently Dovetail worked with Metrolink, obviously, with this project for Train Sim World. and they kind of got access to plans as to what it was going to look like. And it looks pretty nice. Looks pretty cool. You got the parking lot down in here and your bus terminal. And then this is your staircase to get up under. I do like the rock texture through here. That's some pretty darn nice looking rock. You know, as far as geeking out on textures here for a minute. You've got the wooden siding that just, you know, it looks nice. Got your ticket booth. Of course, the stairs come up either side right here. If I can get back over here, I'm trapped. There we go. You can see there's a lot of construction materials placed over here. I don't know if that's all part of, you know, the to-be completed Vista Canyon. Platform looks pretty cool. It's got its own little wavy modern design. Yeah, looks pretty good. So this is what I guess as close as Vista Canyon is going to look like once it is completed by Metrolink. One of the other things worth pointing out is they mentioned using LiDAR technologies. And in short, it basically translates to the topography of a region. And you can definitely see that in this. And it doesn't look the best. I mean, if I wasn't playing a supposed simulator and I was looking at Google Earth, okay. But this is one area where it does not look that great. A little bit further eastward, and it actually looks fairly decent. Something else I'd like to point out is the area down in the middle here. That is not a forest. You'll actually follow it along the canyon here, which, by the way, the highway back there, I don't remember what I called it, but that's actually the Antelope Valley Freeway. But anyway, this supposed forest down here is actually the Santa Clara River, which basically runs along through the gap. It's basically what the railroad and the highway was built upon. It's just a natural formation or gap through the area. It's generally dry, but it, you know, if there are floods, it very much could swell up a bit. But I think by and large, for the most part, a lot of Southern California relies on reservoirs and piping nowadays. Alrighty, we made it through the twisty bits of the Soledad Canyon, and we are now at the next station, which is probably my favorite on this entire Metrolink Antelope Valley Line in real life, and yes, so far in Train Sim World. Of course, I don't remember if I just said it or not. I need to eat a Snickers. Vincent Grade / or dash Acton Station. Unique train station. Obviously, it kind of has a facade of like a an old western town, or like an old, you know, Wild West movie set, or something along those lines. But it very much does look like this, and it retains that little bit of charm. And it's pretty neat. Each little bench or covered area. It says bank. It says sheriff. So it says mission. Oh, we got a train coming too. Cool. That one says hotel. This is the actual main station here. And then what does this one say? Store. There's no saloon. They need a saloon. But anyway, that is Vincent Grade or Acton. And we're getting ever closer to the Mojave Desert. And I probably should have led in the intro for the video, but what better time to talk about why this area is called Antelope Valley. Are there wild antelope here presently? No, sadly not. But there were. So the western edge of the Mojave Desert, which we're working our way towards, this area was named for the now removed pronghorn, the official hunter name or animal name, fauna. That were native to the area. So yeah, they were native to the area, and they were basically hunted out by the late 1800s, like a lot of stuff, as humanity trekked westward across this great country. Sadly, needing food, fur, anything they could get their hands on. They didn't really have protection so much on the mind of things back in those days. It was all about survival. And so sadly, these kinds of things happen. Those that did remain, and the antelope or the pronghorn, talking about, were resettled elsewhere. Um, sort of like your bison, or what people mistakenly call buffalo or tatonka. We still have those, but just not wild, essentially. Second to last station on the line, this is in the town of Palmdale. So this is one of two towns, in northern LA County, and in this map within the DLC, or not the DLC, but Train Sim World 4, that is in the far western reaches of the Mojave Desert. This is all desert, all facing that way. Straight up ahead is the town and settlement of Mojave. And then if you were to keep on going through and then kind of go north, is where you would go over to Tehachapi and then up into, what's up there? Bakersfield. So yeah, we're in the desert now. Sadly, the mountains in the distance don't look as imposing as they do on, some cab ride video I've seen and photos. It's just the Unreal Engine and Dovetail Games devs and Train Sim World. Sadly, that's what you get. Sadly, but anyway, yeah, the station looks good. Again, they did a really good job with these stations, the landscaping, the foliage, little planter boxes. The stations look nice. They've got handicap accessible. Areas. I've even seen signs. Got the main station back here as well, which is still kind of going for that old mission style. Or Hispaniola. That looks pretty good, man. Even the brickwork all around, that looks pretty darn good, I must say. Palmdale Station's looking... That's nice. That's pretty nice. I mean, they did an alright job with these stations. Got your bus depot or interchange back there as well. So yeah, that's Palmdale. We got one mo. As you are continuing eastward towards Lancaster, you'll see these groups of buildings here. This is none other than what is now Lockheed Martin, home to Skunk Works. Actually, this entire area, pretty much all of Southern California, bits in Nevada, Arizona, are home and gave birth to some of the world's coolest and sketchiest and top secret aircraft, and this is certainly one of those places. This facility here, just to name one, for example, the SR-71 Blackbird, all kind of came from great minds that got together and built these crazy think tanks and what they dubbed Skunk Works for their top secret projects. This is one of those places where it all began. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the last station on the map, Lancaster. So this area actually started as a settlement by the Southern Pacific, the railroad that basically heralded the area. They replaced the old stagecoaches or horse-drawn carriages that would, typically take these routes. Basically took that over eventually. But South Pacific built facilities here, including, I think they had a little coaling area, watering tower, worker housing, and of course tracks linking San Francisco to Los Angeles. So it's a fairly important area, railroad historically. I mean, this whole line is, there's so much railroad history in Southern California, but just little tidbits, bits and bobs. This is it. End of the line. Union Pacific continues on that way, like I said, up through Mojave and Tehachapi, over the loops, down into the valley, the very lush valley up that way. But yeah, again, the station looks good. It's kind of got that old world charm again going with it. It doesn't really have that Wild West thing going with it. But it looks fairly decent as far as I can tell. The scenery wise, this whole route, looking over it now that I've had the chance to, is okay. I'd say it's in the upper mid echelon. It's nice that it goes from a sprawling northern Los Angeles through the burbs and the canyons, and then here just this spread wide open desert. It's a fairly long route, um, but like I said earlier, it does retain still so many assets that they have reused time and time and time again. Every little thing. Sure, they've added, they hand built a lot of the stations. We've got this sugarcane grass or whatever the hell that is. You know, what else really? It's still just more of the same. It's all just very basic. Like everything's a bit too clean. We need a bit more clutter, a bit more trash. Certainly need some graffiti. I mean, Christ's sakes, this is Southern California. We need graffiti and just trash everywhere. I'm not entirely happy with the tracks either. They have this very dark quality to them. They should not look that dark. I don't know what it is. When you get up close, there's a bit of a shine on it that you can kind of see, but they look super dark. I do not like the tracks. I never have for none of the North American stuff in Train Sim World. But anyway, visually, the route, it's all right, I guess. I mean, it's like Cajon Pass Part 2. I hope you found the video informative. I know it's only on the Antelope Valley Line for the Metrolink route, but that's all I was really interested in right off the bat. I am eager to try the Zoomer, of course. Not so much that bit of the East Coast Main Line. It's just like, ugh. And then, of course, the Scotty Scotsman, and then the Vorarlberg. So there's a lot more to do. I just had, Antelope Line ready, kinda, had stuff planned out what I was going to do. So hopefully you found it informative if you're curious about this. For the route as a whole, would I recommend the price that it is? No. I mean, yes, you're getting 3 routes for that one price, but if you're not interested in the other stuff, what does that matter? Scenery wise, I'd say upper mid. Rolling stock wise, I'd say probably some of their best, but they just feel very light and plasticky. Like you don't really feel like you're operating heavy equipment. But there seemed to be quite a bit of services. I also noticed one from Ventura County line to LA, which is pretty interesting. It's not a busy route. It's got several different biomes between the city, the suburbs, the canyons, and the deserts. I haven't seen freight yet because none of that's been included in the early access. So could I recommend Antelope Valley Line? From what I've seen over the 5-6 hours today that I've messed around with it, if you could buy it by itself, sure. I'd say their time at Metrolink was probably well spent, and you can tell when they actually try it. It seemed to be somewhat decent as far as my dingusness could tell. But that's it, guys. We'll be back with more, of course, next time. See you then. Bye.